The murder trial. Everyone will be watching in 2026. Everyone is watching this trial, not just because of the crime, but because of what might come out in that courtroom. A case that started with a shocking discovery, one that quickly spiraled into headlines, theories, and questions no one could answer. Who did it? Why? And how did it stay hidden for so long? But here's where it gets even more intense. The deeper investigators dug, the stranger it became. Conflicting stories, missing pieces, details that don't quite add up. Now, all of it is about to unfold in front of the world. Witnesses will speak, evidence will be revealed, and the truth might be nothing like anyone expects. Because this isn't just a trial, it's a story that could change everything. Long before the courtroom lights turn on, a case like this begins quietly, almost unnoticed. At first, it was just another report, an incident that seemed serious, but not yet extraordinary. Investigators responded, documented the scene, and started asking the usual questions. Who was involved? What happened? Was there an immediate threat to others? But very quickly, something felt off. The details didn't align the way they should. Small inconsistencies began to appear, nothing dramatic on their own, but enough to raise concern. Timelines that didn't quite match, statements that shifted slightly with each retelling, and evidence that suggested there was more beneath the surface. As investigators dug deeper, the case started to evolve. What initially looked like a straightforward situation became increasingly complex. Digital records were pulled, phone data was analyzed, movements were tracked, and with each new layer, the narrative began to change. This wasn't just an isolated incident, it was something that had been building. The people connected to the case, whether directly or indirectly, became central to understanding what really happened. Relationships were examined closely, histories were revisited, patterns of behavior, communication, and conflict all came under scrutiny, and slowly, a clearer but far more troubling picture began to form. At the center of it all was a single question: was this spontaneous or planned? Because the answer to that question would shape everything that followed. If it was spontaneous, it suggested emotion, reaction, something that escalated in the moment. But if it was planned even partially, it pointed to intention, to preparation, to decisions made long before the incident itself. And the evidence? It didn't give a simple answer. Some elements suggested impulsiveness, moments that felt unstructured, chaotic, but other pieces told a different story. Calculated actions, deliberate choices, steps taken that didn't seem accidental at all. That contradiction became one of the most debated aspects of the case. As more information surfaced, public attention began to grow. What started as a local investigation quickly turned into something much larger. News outlets picked it up. Online discussions exploded. People began forming opinions, some based on facts, others on speculation. And in today's world, where information spreads instantly, the case took on a life of its own. Every update became a headline. Every detail was analyzed. Every silence was questioned. But behind all of that noise, investigators stayed focused on one thing: building a case that could stand in court, because no matter how much attention a case gets, it all comes down to what can be proven. Evidence had to be collected properly. Witness statements had to be verified. Every claim had to be supported. There was no room for assumptions, only facts. And that process takes time. As months passed, charges were formally brought forward. The legal system stepped in, and the case entered a new phase, one that shifts the focus from investigation to argument. Now it wasn't just about what happened, it was about how it would be presented. Prosecutors began outlining their narrative, connecting evidence into a sequence that made sense, that told a clear story of what they believed occurred. At the same time, the defense prepared their response, challenging interpretations, questioning reliability, introducing alternative explanations, because in a trial, the truth isn't just discovered, it's contested. And this is where the case truly transforms. What was once a collection of clues, interviews, and reports becomes something else entirely, a structured battle of perspectives, where every detail can be examined, challenged, and reframed, which is exactly why this trial has captured so much attention. Because people aren't just waiting to hear what happened, they're waiting to see how it will be argued, and more importantly, which version of the story will hold. As the trial approaches, the atmosphere around the case begins to shift. It's no longer just about investigation files or scattered reports. It becomes something structured, controlled, and intensely focused. The courtroom turns into the center of everything, where months, sometimes years, of work are distilled into arguments, testimonies, and evidence presented piece by piece. And this is where everything changes, because once a trial begins, the story is no longer told privately. It unfolds in real time. Every statement is heard. Every detail is examined. Every reaction, no matter how small, can influence how the case is perceived. For a case already surrounded by attention, that pressure multiplies. What was once discussed in fragments now becomes a continuous narrative that the public can follow day by day. The prosecution will move first, laying out their version of events. They'll take the evidence gathered during the investigation and build a timeline that feels clear, deliberate, and convincing. Witnesses will be called to reinforce that structure, each one a piece to the overall picture. Experts may step in to explain technical details, translating complex findings into something the court can understand. Their goal is simple but demanding: remove doubt, not just tell a story, but prove it. Then comes the defense. And this is where the balance shifts, because the defense doesn't need to prove an entirely new story. They need to challenge the one already presented. They'll question the reliability of witnesses. They'll highlight inconsistencies. They'll focus on gaps, those small areas where certainty weakens and interpretation takes over. Sometimes it's not about replacing the narrative, it's about breaking it. And in cases like this, where details are layered and interpretations vary, that strategy can be powerful. This back and forth is what makes trials like this so compelling to watch. It's not just about facts, it's about how those facts are framed. The same piece of evidence can carry different meanings depending on how it's presented, what context surrounds it, and how it connects to everything else. Jurors aren't just listening, they're evaluating, comparing, questioning. Every word matters. Every pause matters. Even silence can carry weight. Outside the courtroom, the public continues to follow closely. Discussions grow louder, opinions become stronger. People analyze testimony, debate outcomes, and try to piece together their own understanding of what's happening. But inside the courtroom, there's a different kind of focus, because at the end of it all, the outcome won't be decided by public opinion. It will be decided by what can be proven, clearly, convincingly, and without reasonable doubt. And that's why this trial stands out, not just because of the case itself, but because of what it represents: a moment where uncertainty meets structure, where speculation meets evidence, where a story that once felt fragmented is finally forced into clarity. But here's the part that makes it even more intense. Even after everything is presented, even after every argument is made, there's still one final step: the decision, a room, a discussion, a conclusion that will define how this case is remembered. And when that verdict is finally read, it won't just close a chapter, it will shape how the entire story is understood. Because in cases like this, the trial isn't just about finding answers, it's about deciding which answers matter. If you've followed this story this far, then you already know. This isn't just another case. It's one of those moments where everything comes together, and the outcome could stay with people for years. So if you want to stay updated on this trial, catch every key development, and dive deeper into stories that most people only see on the surface, make sure you like this video, share it with someone who's following the case, and subscribe to the channel, because as this trial unfolds, every detail is going to matter.